Hello, one and all. Welcome to the War Zone. I'm Scruffy, and this is Scruffy Tales. And yes, Trump has won the election in the United States. He is the next president, and that puts a lot at risk concerning Ukraine. Will Ukraine continue receiving support from the United States, or will the United States force Ukraine to accept peace on Russian terms? Who knows? The US has become a wild card with Trump at the helm. So, I mean, that will have ramifications on the war between Russia and Ukraine. But the hope is that Europe and South Korea potentially might actually come together to pick up the slack. Europe is well on their way to providing all the supplies, the armor and the weapons and the artillery that Ukraine needs. And if we bring South Korea into the mix, maybe that is enough. So it's gonna be a rough 24 hours for Ukraine with Trump winning the election. Everything is very unclear. Will the United States keep supporting Ukraine, or will they withdraw support for Ukraine, making it easier for Russia to push in? Or will the United States force negotiations that will in the end force Ukraine to give up territory to Russia? Or will Ukraine ignore Trump altogether and keep fighting without him? Who knows? But on top of that, we're also seeing up in Kursk, in the Glushkova district, how Russia is pushed in north of this position here. This is where Ukraine initially pushed into the Glushkova district. This is where they breached minefields and dragon teeth. And they may have breached other positions over time, but this was the main push into the Glushkova district. Russia is now half a kilometer, a third of a mile north of that breach point. And it does appear as if Russia is slowly but surely pushing Ukraine out of Glushkova district. Or if it is in fact Ukraine that is doing a fighting retreat. Either way, it appears as if Ukraine is actually leaving the Glushkova district. And at the same time, Ukraine lost a big chunk of territory here the other day, and Russia is now pushing down this way as well. No other big map updates in Kursk as far as I know. It's going to be a struggle for Ukraine without American support. That much is clear. See how it goes. But Ukraine will receive top modern infantry fighting vehicles during 2025, such as the German Lynx infantry fighting vehicle, as well as the Swedish CV-9035. State-of-the-art armored vehicles that will be provided during 2025. But I mean, without American support, you're gonna have far less missiles, long-range missiles. You're gonna have less artillery rounds and all of that stuff. And tow missiles, javelins, and what have you. That's going to have an effect. That is going to have an effect. And yeah, it's going to be rough. At Kharkiv, Ukraine is disrupting Russian logistics, moving into the front line here, north of Kharkiv. We're seeing Ukraine moving up along the dam here, potentially trying to come up to disrupt the supplies even further. If they can reach the top here, then they will cut supplies leading into this area, and that should allow Ukraine to push Russia back. Should No guarantees, but they are pushing up along the dam here, heading straight for this supply line that they're disrupting over here. And well, I haven't mapped it out, but at Kupiansk, Russia has pushed out this way and are now about to seal this large. Hang on, we can do this. Yeah, as you can see, Russia is ready to grab all of that territory, and once that is done, they're gonna head south along the. Look at this. I don't get it. It's not the map. It's the mouse. My mouse is messing up with me. And yeah, they're gonna follow the Oskil River down here. Try to do it at least. And sorry, wrong one. This is the one we want. Meanwhile, down at Pokrovsk, we can see that Russia wants to move out to Glushkova here and move then on here to the town over here so that they can push up this way. They've already pushed out this way to Soldove, and as we all know, they came up this way to Rodivka, and so they are securing the supply lines to ensure a push that will in the end look like I mapped out here, and this will allow them to in the end assault Pokrovsk. And they're doing this in part. Here you have a more current map. I was just highlighting how far Russia needs to go in order to assault Pokrovsk. And they want to push out this way because otherwise they can't open fire with artillery on Pokrovsk. So they want if we mark it here, as you can see, Russia really do need to secure all of this area here in order to be able to open fire on Pokrovsk. It appears as if my mouse is acting up on me. No, I need to buy a new mouse. So they can open fire from all these angles at Pokrovsk and Mironorad. And so that is why they need all of this territory here, and they also need to secure these logistical routes to supply the artillery with ammunition, and so that they can launch infantry assaults all around, and also come around and cut the supply lines leading into Pokrovsk. As you can see, we have one road here, another here, third, and a fourth. And you have 1, 2, 3 railroads as well. And so a lot of logistics leading into Pokrovsk that Russia needs to somehow gain access to and cut the supply lines or disrupt them. And they also need to secure their own supplies. And they need territory to set up all the artillery needed to assault Pokrovsk. But I mean, without American support, and without access to HIMARS and ATACMS and what have you, what's going to stop Russia and North Korea to continue their cooperation, their alliance to assaulting, attacking Ukraine? And we actually have some videos now that appears to show North Korean troops learning orders and commands from Russian soldiers. I'll show that in a bit maybe. It's not looking good for Ukraine. It really doesn't. And I mean, what's going to stop China from going after Taiwan? I mean, if Russia is allowed to push into Ukraine, what's going to stop China from pushing into Taiwan? I know it's dark times ahead. We'll see what happens. I mean, Trump is a wild card. He might just
maintain support for Ukraine if he decides that he likes Zelensky. Difficult times, really difficult times. And here we have the video in question of the Asian soldiers talking with Russian instructors, and the Russians are giving them instructions on commands, and yeah, you can quite clearly tell that these Asians are trying to learn Russian words from these Russian instructors. And apparently, I mean, it's big, massive rumor that needs to be taken with a barrel of salt. I mean, a whole truckload of salt. And it was on a random account on Twitter, Twix, that claimed that the North Koreans, or some of them at least, were embedded with the, I believe it was the 810th Marine Brigade. That is geolocated to Kremanoye here in Kursk. And so maybe, very maybe, we have the North Koreans located here in this area, maybe. And maybe, I mean, we have seen a lot of attacks this way of late. Maybe this is where we have the North Koreans taking part in combat. We have reports that they are engaged at the moment with the Ukrainians. So maybe it's happening here. Who knows? But I mean, that tiny, very unreliable rumor that I found placed the North Koreans in this area here. So maybe they are taking part in the assaults that we're seeing crossing these wide open fields here that have so far failed in trying to reach these woods. I mean, so with the United States nowadays being a wild card, maybe maybe South Korea will pick up the slack if we are seeing more and more North Koreans taking part in the war. So maybe we will see more support from South Korea. Europe will outproduce Russia in terms of artillery shells. So there will be ammunition for Ukraine. The problem is that the European armies also wants to build up their stockpiles. European nations will provide Ukraine with F-16s during 2025. So it's not all doom and gloom. But it is a big blow to the Ukrainian war effort and for the hopes and liberties of Ukraine that the United States is a wild card. And I mean, there is real risk that Russia may actually manage to reach the Dnipro. That might happen. It could happen. Hopefully, Ukraine will receive enough support from South Korea in the coming months and during 2025 to turn it around, to pick up the slack from in case the United States reduces its support. So I guess, yeah, it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, yeah, Ukraine will receive F-16s. They will receive Lynx fighting vehicles. They will receive CV90-35 fighting vehicles. And hopefully that will give Ukraine a fighting chance in holding the line. But who knows where this is going to end if North Korea keeps pushing in troops into this area here. North Korean troops fighting in Kursk, maybe even crossing into Ukraine itself. But I mean, you have this, the Act in Support of Ammunition Production, known as ASAP. Kind of funny. ASAP aims to ramp up of ammunition production capacity across Europe, and with this help member states refill their stocks and deliver ammunition to Ukraine by anticipating bottlenecks and shortages in the defense supply chains. The program has currently identified projects with a budget in excess of 500 million euros to stimulate the production of ammunition in the following areas: explosives with a project portfolio budget of 124 million, powder, shells, missiles, and testing and reconditioning certification, yada yada yada. I mean, so Europe is stepping up. And if South Korea is brought in due to North Korea getting involved, maybe the situation is not as critical as we fear, with having Trump in office in the United States, and with the United States potentially withdrawing support for Ukraine. It's going to hurt. It's going to make Ukraine suffer, but maybe Europe and South Korea will be able to provide enough help to Ukraine to ensure that Ukraine can remain in this fight.
Yeah, potentially difficult times ahead. The United States has become a wild card, but the hope is that Europe and potentially South Korea will be able to pick up the slack. Europe will provide enough ammunition to provide Ukraine with artillery shells if they divert the efforts to doing so, which appears it seems as if that's where we're heading. And I mean, if we can bring South Korea into the mix, maybe some tanks, artillery, self-propelled artillery, maybe some combat vehicles, APCs, what have you, then maybe we can actually see Ukraine maintaining, or rather seeing Ukraine staying in the fight despite the potential loss of United States support. And I mean, if Ukraine can push this war into 2025, there's a chance that the Russian economy will actually, come apart to such a degree that maybe the Russian war effort will actually be found wanting. Production will slow down. They can't pay their soldiers and stuff like that. They can't build enough ammunition. They can't produce enough ammunition. They can't build enough tanks and so on. So, 2025 is gonna be a interesting and potentially a rough year for Ukraine, and hopefully even also for Russia. Anyway, that's it. As always, go på marsch, Ukraine. Give them hell.